internet, I know a renegade soldier when I see one. My name is Matthew Kroll.
And higher, further, faster, baby. I'm Carly Usdin.
And this is the only podcast about movies, specifically the film Captain Marvel. Now, as you can glean from my co-host's quote at the beginning of this episode, Shahir Dowd is not here for another week. I promise you I will find him. But until then, I've brought the absolute most wonderful co-host for this show. Fellow humans, it is my distinct honor and privilege to introduce to you my co-host for this discussion on the 21st entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, whom I've known for almost 12 years, all the way back to our MTVU days. She's a writer and director of such films as Suicide Kale, along with being the creator of two comic series, The Avant-Gardes and Heavy Vinyl, which you can and should pick up right this very minute, and the co-founder of Scheme Machine Studios. Please put your hands together in whatever physical space you are occupying while consuming this audio for Carly Usdin.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm so good. It's so good to see your face.
I know.
Everyone out there, I know this isn't a visual medium, but I get to see Matt's lovely face right
Well, listen, I do have a human face. I am not currently a Skrull, and that's always a plus. Carly,
but a Skrull could have a human face, so you telling me you're not a Skrull actually just makes me concerned that you might be a Skrull.
That's just semantics. I don't think we should be. We're not here to discuss whether or not I am part of a infiltrating race of creatures from a faraway galaxy. We are here to talk about Captain Marvel. But Carly, first and foremost, I haven't spoken to you in a little bit. I think the last time I actually saw your face in an actual physical space was it like one of the Comic-Con shows in San where we edited it in LA, but like
yes, it was Guy Code Honors.
Oh, wow.
Shot at Comic-Con in San Diego, and we were editing it in Santa Monica.
That's right.
And it was you and me and Shahir and a bunch of other folks that go all the way back to the old MTVU days. And
that was like 2008, maybe? I have no idea.
It must have been. It must have been right when I first moved out here.
Yeah, it was. You had only been gone for about a year, I believe.
So then it was maybe like 2013?
Okay, so maybe it's a little bit. Time is...
2012?
Yeah.
2015?
Time is not my friend. Remembering time is not my friend. But,
Same.
But yeah, no, I've been, since we haven't got to physically hang out, I've been following all of the stuff that you've been doing, which has been freaking cool. I'm sorry I had to sing it. I wanted to introduce you properly because you've been fucking killing it.
I don't sleep a lot.
Yes, I would imagine so. And that's kind of because of all of the amazing work that you do and the craft that you bring to it, and also just because of I know you as a person, I thought you would be the absolute perfect person to discuss Captain Marvel with today. I
could not be more honored to be your Captain Marvel co-host / guest.
Full co-host.
I've been awaiting this film since the day it was announced, and yeah, so I'm excited.
So let me ask you this, just sort of starting off. Everyone on this show knows that I am a MCU and Marvel shill from the get-go, so no one needs to be like, Matt, what's your stance here? What's up? What's your history with Marvel Comics, the MCU, and Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers in general?
Well, my history with all things Marvel is from a young age, I was really into comic books, and so I was more of a X-Men reader and fan, but I got really into Spider-Man and Captain America for a while.
Yeah.
Didn't get into Captain Marvel until I was an adult. And then, in the last couple of years, I've been writing comic books, which is so weird.
Yeah.
Which is sort of like, I've always been a fan, but it's kind of like allowed / forced / enabled me to indulge a lot more than I had been previously. So it's been nice to be reading more comic books again. And right now it's like I've been in a bit of a deadline crunch with some of the books I'm writing. So I try not to read any comic books when I'm writing comic books.
That makes sense.
So yeah, I don't, and not like, any of the, like the MCU would like affect my ability to write comic books about like a basketball team with no superpowers, but I don't know. It's easier to compartmentalize my brain. And then as far as the films go, I was in on day one, with Iron Man, and then the first Avengers was pretty rad. And then I kind of fell off in the middle a little bit. I kind of had fatigue, but came roaring back in the last 2 years, and have just been back in my dweeby fandom, feeling good about it.
Nice. Actually, I think now that we're sort of recollecting the time period in which we used to work together, I want to say that you and I probably nerded out for the first time at the Iron Man trailer together at work. That probably, because I remember watching that in the edit.
Then we definitely watched it together and freaked out.
Yeah. So this is, it's a nice full circle thing.
Oh, back when our offices were in the East Village.
Oh my God, 770 Broadway. I'm sorry, this is not interesting to anyone but you and me, but I don't care. Because that building was a delight, and every MTV building I've worked at since then has progressively gotten worse, or at least closer to the heart of Times Square.
Exactly, which is, again, worse.
Yes. There's also 345 Hudson for those of you who work in the Viacom circles, which is fine, but it's no 770. And the space is weird. 770. Well, actually, a sort of tangential question before we get into the film. I've known you, obviously, as a creative for a long period of time, but then how did you actually get into going from just a comic fan who worked in production and worked in media to actually getting to write your own comic book? Because I've read Heavy Vinyl, and I absolutely loved it. But I've yet to pick up the Avant-Gardes, but that is next on my list. I have one comic store that I actually walked back and forth from that is never open between when I leave my apartment and go to therapy. And I need to find a different time so I can swing in there. But how did that process happen, that transition?
It was kind of happenstance, I guess. I know a bunch of people at Boom, and the opportunity arose to pitch some books to Boom Studios, and I was kind of like, I'm not a writer. I'm not a writer. I'm just a director and editor. I don't know about that. And they're like, just do it. And I was like, okay. And after a lot of back and forth, one of my original pitches, which ended up being Heavy Vinyl. And then they were like, okay, cool. You're going to write this now. And I was like, what? And there was a whole process of maybe I'll have a co-writer. Let's try to make that work. And it just didn't work, mostly due to people's schedules. I met a lot of very, very awesome people who I love. And it just didn't work out for scheduling reasons. And then it was kind of I was like, oh, I'm just going to write this myself, aren't I? And it was like, yeah, and you're going to be fine. And they had an enormous amount of trust and faith in me, which, honestly, I've never really had in any other moment in my career.
I mean,
that thing, and I'm sure you've experienced this, where you want to do a job or a specific role, and it's like, have you done this specific thing before? And you're like, well, no, but I know I could do it because I've done these other things. Right. And then you don't get the job because they have no faith in anyone's ability to be creative or do work.
My favorite example of that is when you're applying, most of the time, honestly, it's for jobs that I didn't want. And they'd be like, well, do you have 8 years of whatever this specific show's involvement is? And you're like, no, I'm applying for the show. They're like, well, then you can't have it. And you're like, what?
It's like, why? Your applicant pool must be very small.
Yeah, you're shooting for one or two specific people, which I am not.
Yeah, so why even take the time to do this?
I never understood.
But it was incredible. They actually took a chance. I mean, I'm based on my film work and other stuff I had done. I wasn't completely out of the blue, but a little out of the blue. And the rest, as I say, is history.
Oh, that's cool as shit. I love that. I was so pumped. Cool. I was so pumped when I saw you were doing the books, and because obviously comics have been a favorite of mine as well. And
oh yes.
It's always fantastic when you have people you love doing lovely things. So enough gushing on you and our history and our past. Let's look to the future.
Yes.
Of Captain Marvel. And as we discuss this, dearest listeners, if you'd like to send us your thoughts about Captain Marvel or anything we discuss, hell, give us your thoughts on Carly and I's shared past. If you'd like to write fan fiction, that's fine. You can write it
It's okay.
onlymoviepodcast@gmail.com, or you can add us at onlymoviepod on Twitter. Also, typical shills, please give us stars on iTunes. We'll take whatever you can spare, but we do like the 5s. Okay.
Give the 5.
So, I'm going to first read how IMDb describes Captain Marvel.
Let's do this.
Okay. Carol Danvers becomes one of the universe's most powerful heroes when Earth is caught in the middle of a galactic war between 2 alien races. Technically true.
Technically true. I mean, hard to kind of distill this film into a one-sentence logline.
Yes. I always enjoy the attempt.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you tried. Yay.
I want you to start off. Give me your first thoughts after you walked out of the theater after Captain Marvel.
I walked out of the theater and I was like, I bet I could punch a hole in the ceiling. That was the first thing I said out loud to the group of friends I went with. I was like, I bet if we all just tried really hard, we could all just bust through the ceiling. Because I felt like we all had superpowers walking out of there.
Yeah. It was not only were there actually many times where she punched literally through the floor or the ceiling of what she was doing, but it definitely gave that vibe. It definitely gave that sort of which while I love each of the Marvel films, but I would say they're like children, where you're going to have your favorites no matter what you say.
Sure.
This one was one of the bunch that sort of really did give that energy walking out of the theater. Now, I actually didn't get to, because I wanted to get this discussion out as quickly as possible, and I knew we had a window when we could record this. I actually just saw it today at 10 a.m.
Nice.
Which felt suiting. I mean, it's International Women's Day when we're recording this, so happy International Women's Day to you.
To us all.
But no, so I saw it at 10 a.m. by myself, which seeing a empowering sort of bombastic action flick by yourself is always a little bit weird. Which might be why I'm a little bit, I don't want to say twitchy, but just sort of a little more energy than I usually have right now as well, because you are the first human being whom I've talked to about this film.
You haven't had anyone to talk to about this yet. So
no.
It's all in you still.
It is. Like
when I saw, the first time I saw Spider-Verse, because obviously I had to see it several times.
Oh, yes.
The first time I saw Spider-Verse, I saw it alone. Walking out of there, like my body was on fire. Like I was just like, ah! Like I just felt so crazy. Like I need to tell everyone. I need to talk to everyone. I need to scream about how amazing this movie. Like, so I understand the energy that you're dealing with right now.
Yes. So I guess we'll sort of get into a little bit of first thoughts, because I mean I feel like it's safe to say we both liked it.
Definitely liked it.
Something I really dug about it, and we're going to get slowly into spoilers. We'll try to stay off them for as long as we can. But something I really enjoyed, this is, I guess, a minor spoiler, but you really should just go watch the movie before you continue on, is this was not a story, this was not a typical origin story.
It was not.
I am very glad that the typical origin stories have sort of died off, or even become a little bit of a parody of themselves at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, even with Spider-Man Homecoming, they're finally like, everyone knows who Spider-Man is and how he became Spider-Man. We don't need to do this again. In this particular case, not everyone does know Carol Danvers' origin story, but I really respected the fact that they didn't just give it sort of a standard, like the Iron Man paradigm that they kind of gave Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
It felt fresh to me in a way that that no amount of fucking bullshit crybabies on Rotten Tomatoes can possibly taint. That's a fucking nightmare. Sorry, I was trying not to go into that yet, but it just came up when I said fresh, and it was just
saw the logo in your head.
Yeah. But so I really appreciated that. What else did I really, really like? Sort of small, non-spoilery things. The de-aging I thought was fucking amazing on Samuel L. Jackson.
Really well done, because like that has the ability to be very bad.
Uncanny Valley,
really
it was not.
Impressed. Yeah, I was like, wow, they nailed that, because I was really like, there were moments where his face is like the whole screen, and I was definitely like scrutinizing it. I was like, oh, all right, does this look like real fake? Does this look Uncanny Valley? And it really looked good.
Yeah.
I was very impressed with that effect.
So I know they've been playing with it throughout doing the MCU, whatever teams they have doing this. Michael Douglas being the most impressive version, and I think Peggy Carter probably re-aging her was probably the least impressive of their age switcheroos back in either, if that might have been Winter Soldier? I think it was. I think she passes away in Winter Soldier. No, in Civil War she passes away.
Yeah, I think it's Civil War.
I mean, I've watched, and listeners of this show know I've gone back recently, actually with Girl Code Shalia Evans. We went back and did a Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3 thing in lead up to Infinity War.
Oh, that's good.
But yeah, I was thoroughly impressed. And in all of those previous Marvel films, the de-aging, I felt like they... As an editor, I was looking at it and I was like, oh, yes, they knew when to cut when they thought that it was getting too, like, they knew the right duration of the angle before your brain started clipping it into, like, Uncanny Valley. And so I thought they'd do that a lot here, and they didn't.
No, they held on him. There are medium and tight shots of him that go on for a while.
Yeah.
Which was like, I was like, is this like, I mean, like, I guess it's sort of like, yeah, he's talking, or like he's, you know, like whatever, like the story dictates this shot. But also, I'm like, it's a little bit of a flex.
Yeah, it 100% was. In fact, the only time, and there was one or two shots of Coulson actually where I was like, okay, that looks a little rubbery, but I didn't even care. But there was one shot of Samuel L. Jackson, I think in the second act, where they're like in the records place or whatever, where he's running. And it was definitely like actual Samuel L. Jackson running that they then de-aged or did whatever, but he moved like an older man. Like, I could just tell that was not like action guy movement. That was like a little shuffle, which is whatever. It's fine.
It was definitely a little dad.
Yeah, it was a dad shuffle.
It was a little bit of a dad run.
But other than that, I thought they did an excellent job there.
Yeah, that was impressive.
What about you? What about some first thought stuff? If you can think of non-spoilery things first. Otherwise, we'll just dive right into it.
Okay. So my first thought is that this movie had so much story to tell.
Yes.
And it did it in 2 hours, which was unbelievable considering that these movies are normally much longer than that. I'm such a fan of keeping a movie at 2 hours or under, so I was thrilled that the runtime was like 2 and change. I was like, no way. So just on a purely like how much stuff you're packing into a space, I thought that was incredibly impressive. They had a lot to do.
Yes.
And I think for the most part, they pulled it off really well. I do think that it's not the same origin story thing, but I think it suffers from some of the same first film introducing a character issues, even though it is not your normal arc of the origin story.
I think it's the closest probably to the first Thor, just because it's a lot of not in what happens, but in and it's not even in tone for Carol, because she was never fish out of water.
Yeah, Thor is a totally different
the almost like the story's arc was more like, because you started fantastical, you went down to earth, then you end fantastical, like that sort of
true.
Character wise, no. Plot wise, probably a little bit, but with some, I think, clever reshuffles in the edit.
Definitely, it's this because it's a mix of like wacky space adventures.
Yep.
Earth in the 90s.
Yeah.
And then introducing a brand new hero to an audience that is a mix of people who are dying for her and are terrified of her.
Yeah.
And also tying it into the storyline of Avengers. That's 4 huge, huge, heavy lifts that the team had to deal with on this. And it's like incredible that it comes together in such a coherent story.
Yeah. Yeah.
And is entertaining and is fun. But like, wow.
Yeah,
My first thought is just kind of like, wow, that was a lot.
It's a lot. Listen, if the MCU knows one thing at this point, it is plate spinning. They are masters at sort of the balancing act of keeping all of their stuff together. Something that I haven't really seen in any at this level. I don't think really anyone has in a visual medium before.
No way.
Especially across so many different creators doing things that are kind of tied together. The one thing I will say that kind of I like trying to look at when I really do love a film like I loved Captain Marvel. I like trying to take the one or two things where I was like, not so much. One of those things, while I did love every song in the movie, I was getting every once in a while for one or two of the tracks when they hit, I was getting like a PTSD moment of Suicide Squad hitting me in the head. And not that there's
not a good PTSD.
No, and I do not want to. I'm not saying that as even a film style or construction or quality thing. It's just what Suicide Squad did was it leaned on a bunch of really weird pop music sort of cues to it, and it turned it into from a movie that made no sense into a series of 19 music videos that made no sense. This doesn't do that at all, but what it does do is like by the time I think I'm Just a Girl played from No Doubt, I was like, oh, of course this is going to be another like pop song fight.
Yeah.
Like, and I was just like, and again, it's a minor gripe, but I was like, part of me likes this, and part of me is like, just let's see some let's just let it breathe on its own for a second.
I know. I felt the same way. And this coming from someone who writes a comic book series set in 1998, an exhaustively researched series set in 1998, mind you, where every single, if you were to comb through Volume 1 of Heavy Vinyl, every pop cultural reference is accurate to the week and if not the day. Yeah. So I'm and I'm a 90s kid all the way. Mm-hmm. So I was so excited about the 90s-ness of it. And some of the music moments were awesome. Like the moment when they played Garbage. Yes. I was like basically out of my seat. Mm-hmm. But I'm Just a Girl. I started laughing. Yeah. It wasn't the best moment. I was like, my wife Robin leaned over to me at that moment and she goes, "Song's a bit on the nose." Yeah. I both started laughing, but it was. But also, it's fun. It's fun. Like again, this is such a minor gripe. Yes. But and I live for 90s references, 90s music. It is my favorite everything. Some of those moments felt a little like, hey, don't forget, it's 1995. Yeah. Yeah. But then other moments with the kind of nostalgia were so perfect, like the CD-ROM bit. Yes. Was perfect. Yes. And that was so funny. And I don't want to sort of poo-poo on the music choices in general. I actually thought when she goes back the second time to speak to the Intelligence Supreme, what was it? I never can remember the Kree nonsense. Supreme Intelligence. Played by, holy shit, Annette Bening. Annette Bening's in this movie. Who is also, which I do want to talk about next, also Marvel, which was a fucking bold and kick-ass choice. But when the second time she goes to speak to the Supreme Intelligence and Nirvana's "Come As You Are" played, I was like, at first I had the tinge and it was like, no, this is perfect. It was so rad. That was another rad cue. Garbage and the Nirvana cue were my two that I like. Were definitely the two best ones. And the rest of them, other than "I'm Just a Girl," happened at people were playing the music in the background. It was more diegetic. Yeah. Yeah. Ooh, good word. Did I say that word correctly? Have you been talking to Shahir? Don't use the big words when he's. I can't. This is why I like doing this, is because he can't make me feel dumb. No. I don't want to make you feel dumb now. No. Keep using all the big words. It definitely helps me. That's the only big word I know. Oh no. Let's talk about what else. That was my only. I'm trying to think if there's any other gripe, and I don't honestly think there was. Did you have? I fucking loved it. Yeah, it was real fucking fun. And I wanted to,
This film, and now I guess we've been talking for almost a half hour, so I want to get into full-blown spoiler territory.
It's time.
This is time where we will rip the Band-Aid off, and that's happening right meow. Very much important, pun intended, because...
Oh, yeah.
Holy shit. I didn't want to talk about this right away, but Goose the Cat... Which
Goose the cat.
I'm a sucker for cats. Everyone sort of knows that about me. But I know. So Goose is actually, I believe, a cat named Chewy in the comic books, and obviously they didn't want to cross those streams, even though they totally could.
Yeah.
Then they'd have to answer the question of like, does Star Wars exist as a film in the MCU? And we don't want to get that started.
I know that then you just sort of the universe folds in on itself, and then
we don't then we just never go to the theater. Goose was actually a flurkin, which I saw Goose in the advertising for this film, and I was like, and there's a cat. It's real important in the trailer. It's on the red carpet.
It has its own character poster.
Yeah, and I was like, what? Okay. And I was like, is this going to be like an actual Marvel? I mean, it is a Marvel character, so to speak, but I thought it was going to be like something like a big name that was somehow the cat or involved with the cat. And I actually really enjoyed that it was just a terrifyingly dangerous monster known as a flurkin, who is responsible for taking out Nick Fury's eye.
That was great. I was just like, wow. That's the kind of thing that, like, when I think of like stuff I want to make, like one day, like I'm a person who like one day wants to direct a Marvel movie. Like that's like my like very long-term career goals. And that's the kind of moment that also is like how I felt watching Ragnarok.
Yes.
Where you're just like, they must have been like, I wonder if we can get away with this. It's so silly and ridiculous. And then everyone's like, do it. And then you're like, holy shit, I did it. Like, his eye got fucked up from a cat.
And I will not say
a monster.
I know, and I will not say that this was planned all along, but if you go back to Captain America Winter Soldier, there is an actual line, which could have been about anybody, but it makes so much more fun sense right now, where Nick Fury says, and I quote, "Last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye."
Oh my God. I forgot about that. That's brilliant.
And so,
I love that.
Listen, Goose does a lot of great things. The Tesseract makes an appearance again, which welcome back, Tesseract, the original red herring MacGuffin, and in the MCU, and Goose eats it to protect it.
Eats it
along with eating a lot of Kree.
Oh man, yeah. I'm glad in the can I mention the
the after credits, yes.
So the second after credit scene is and when the scene started, so it's just a locked off shot of his desk.
Nick Fury's desk.
Of Fury's desk, and Goose walks onto the desk, and I was sitting there and I was like, is this whole scene going to be the cat coughing up the Tesseract? And then it was, and I was like, that's another one of those moments where they were like, and then we're going to do like an additional after credit sequence. It's going to be crazy. And it's like, so like, it's just going to be a locked up shot of the desk. And then the cat's just going to cough up the Tesseract. And it's going to go on for like 2 minutes, just 2 minutes of a coughing cat. It's brilliant. It's so good.
It was very fun. Speaking of cats.
Oh.
Hi, Zozo. I don't know if you can hear her.
Meowser.
Zozo. No? Oh, now you're going to be quiet. Get out of here. You Tesseract-eating monster.
Do all cats have Tesseracts inside of their bodies?
I don't know.
Let's find out.
Yeah, all right. Zozo, ready? We're going to do an experiment.
I will say I am a dog person all the way.
Sure.
I'm actually a little allergic to cats. But man, Goose really won me over.
Hit the spot.
Yeah, there were definitely moments where I was like, oh, Goose.
I also... what was it?
Oh. And then, of course, tentacle monsters.
Tentacle monsters are the best. I will say, sort of the next thing that I really did enjoy about this film was actually the way that there were like legit, real, and different friendships between Carol and at least 3 other characters. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of times, like I wouldn't even sort of count like Well, it depends. Up until even Age of Ultron, there wasn't really like friend moments with the Avengers. It was all sort of like they got to do it, so they like go for it.
Yeah, it was more like a group of coworkers who didn't hang out outside of the office.
Right.
Than like a buddy movie.
Yeah, and in Ultron, they do have that one office party that goes awry where they try to lift Thor's hammer, which is my favorite scene in that entire movie.
That's a really good scene.
But no, so Carol, obviously, and Maria, her friend from when she was just Carol Danvers, human Carol Danvers all the way.
Human Carol, yes.
Was like really legit, and like it felt like it had that moment of when she finally comes back and they like see each other for the first time. Obviously, Maria's daughter is like super pumped, and like then that's weird. And then you have that sort of moment of like long lost friendship. Like that, I saw a really nice, and I want to get the actress's name right because it was super convincing for me. It was Lashana Lynch,
Yes.
and she had that moment where she saw her best friend come back. And she was happy about it, but like angry that she was gone and didn't like, not like angry at Carol, but like she couldn't be all the way happy. It wasn't movie cliche like embrace, like cry, everything's fine. It was like trauma's real and this is a person I thought was dead. And it was the most complicated moment in a Marvel film of that particular type of scene. That
it was
like
so well written and well acted.
Yeah.
It was, and like when she's like, and then Carol's like, I know this is hard for you. And she's like, this isn't hard for me. And then like details the grief and the mourning and like how that has impacted her life and the life of her child. Like that shit is so real and was so beautiful. And I was like, whoa, like I'm so glad they went there. You know, like it could have just been like, you're back and like tears and hugs. But like, it's complicated. Like, you know, there's so many emotions that go along with something like that. And so I thought that was done really, really well.
Yeah. So there was that friendship, which was beautiful. There was Carol and Fury's friendship that like, I don't know, like sometimes I love Samuel L. Jackson, but he can go completely human and beautiful, and he can go so over the top where, you know, whatever. And I was glad it was like young Nick Fury, so he was a little more optimistic, a little more open to this sort of thing. And like they just had this kick-ass platonic friendship by the end where they're just like,
I loved it.
This is awesome. Great. It was like a buddy cop movie at a certain point.
It was totally a buddy cop movie. And I loved also like a lot of the marketing and promo around the film. It's just like the two of them being friends.
Yeah, there was
like
something
the, like carpool karaoke clips and all that. Like I will eat up as much of that as the internet wants to give me.
Yes.
Like they're wonderful together.
Yes. And
buddy comedy all the way.
And then the third, and I use this sort of term as friendship sort of lightly, but I still would kind of go there. You know, maybe it is, we just don't sort of see the tail end of it, is Carol and Talos. The Skrull main bad guy, weird air quotes, played by Ben Mendelsohn.
Who was great.
Who was a weird standout for me. Like, I obviously know him lately from this Rogue One. He was the bad guy, and he's been in a bunch of other stuff. But, like, they actually let him flex a bunch with the sort of main plot twist of the film. I guess we sort of get into that before I can talk about him and Carol. In the Marvel Comics universe, for those of you not engrossed in all of this, neck deep as we both are in all this nonsense, the Skrulls, for the most part, are not what they were in this movie. They are kind of just like evil infiltrator, galactic takeover things. And the Kree are no angels themselves in the MCU. In fact, in the Kree-Skrull War, I think that was a 70s arc or an 80s arc, and there's been a million other sort of small stories since. They're both dicks. And Earth is kind of caught in the middle. And so when I heard that the Skrulls were coming here, I was like, oh, I'm like, well, there's a good villain for Captain Marvel. But like, I was worried that they would be cookie cutter. And I knew that. Yeah,
you don't want it to be that like kind of stereotypical alien invasion bad guy.
I didn't want Thor, the Dark World's Dark Elves, which had a great like lead actor being the villain, but like, you know, they're pissed at Odin. Cool. Like
is that the whole that's the whole thing? Okay,
kind
great.
of. I mean, and I will say that Chris Eccleston, he's one of the Doctor Who guys, one of the doctors.
Yeah.
He literally like chews scenery in the absolute best way, and while he tries so hard in Dark World, the script doesn't let him do anything. Like, or actually, really, the editing and stuff doesn't really let him do anything. And I actually am not shitting on Dark World. A lot of people hate that movie, and I didn't like it that much before. But when I just did my rewatch, I was like, sorry for the tangent, but Thor: The Dark World feels the most like a Masters of the Universe movie that I've seen since Frank Langella was Skeletor back in the day. So I was kind of on board for like swords and spaceships. Anyway. But no, so Talos in this film, in the Skrull in general, there's a I guess a second act twist where you find out that they are not in fact not only are they not the bad guys of the story, but the Marvel goes full on hard and goes, they're not the bad guys in this war. Mm-hmm. The Kree have been trying to stamp them out, and they're basically shape-shifting refugees. And I was like, and it's funny because I don't think people that aren't engrossed in the Marvel world would ever sort of have that habit. It just had a lot of like, kind of like what you said with Nick Fury's eye. It had a lot of like, oh, they're going there. They're taking an established character and honestly turning it into something that fan bullshit people probably won't like. Like they're pulling like a Mandarin with it in a weird way from Iron Man. Like they're adjusting the story.
What they're really doing is making it more complex and more interesting.
Yes.
And I loved that twist.
Yeah. And I mean, they literally, and you know, we don't try to get too much into politics on this show, but they literally turned them into an allegory for fucking border security and immigration. Like there's multiple lines in this where I was like, holy fuck, Captain Marvel is swinging at literally government policy right now.
Yeah, it was impossible for the parallels with like what's going on in the world right now. It was impossible not to think about those, like in some of those scenes in this like second and third acts of the film.
Literally turning what the original narrative would be the villains or the others, these shape-shifting supposedly, and they look monstrous when they're in their normal form to us.
Sure, they're wearing monster faces.
Yeah. Is that what it is?
It's technical. It's a technical, like an industry kind of thing.
But and then to turn that and just sort of be like, no dummies, like they're refugees. Look at what's happening where. Follow the blood and the money, is as it were.
It's also super interesting because there was such a huge kind of like refugee storyline in Ragnarok too. And it's like they were handled very, very differently.
Yes. Because
that was so obviously like, Thor is the good guy. These are his people. Like they are good. But like, it's super interesting to see like just those. I definitely felt a couple parallels between this and Ragnarok. Not just because they're two Ragnarok's like Ragnarok, Black Panther, and Captain Marvel are my favorite Marvel movies. If I'm being MCU movies, if I'm just listing my top three, those are my top three. Ragnarok, I think, is my favorite.
I mean, Ragnarok is such a beautiful beast in its own right. Finally knowing what to do with Thor and hopefully making not that the first two were fine, and he served the purpose as the comic strong person in conjunction with the other Avengers makes total sense. How do you make Thor fun on his own? Same way that they managed to make Hulk sort of fun. Well, I guess they're not on their own per se, but like there's a reason why I think, and this is a personal opinion, and this is not a Marvel DC thing, I think Superman is real boring. And
I've always thought that.
It's because, it's like, but here's the thing. I also think that in the comics, Thor's real boring, Hulk's real boring. And it's because they're so OP and they don't like necessarily need anybody in those stories.
Yeah.
Like there's no real reason Batman and Superman would hang out.
No, never. There's no situation that they need each other.
No. And it was just nice that like Marvel's like, we're going to take these two characters, Thor and Hulk, and we're going to give them both purpose and things that they can only do in this particular story with one another. And that's very, very smart. And I think they
figured out what to do with both of them. Yeah. It was great.
And
sorry, tangent about Ragnarok.
But it's sort of a further call to what the MCU is doing. The MCU, especially after, again, rewatching them all recently, there's some trouble. The first film was in 2008. And obviously the discourse was a little bit different back then. And you watch some of the earlier stuff now, and there's, especially around Tony Stark, there's some cringy shit. And what's nice about the MCU experiment is you can see them learning. Mm-hmm. Like, it's slow, and they're getting to a point. But
you can see it.
Yeah, and this message, honestly, and honestly, the movie as a whole of Captain Marvel was like, it was a definitive thing to me that they understand the society in which they are now creating stories in.
Yes.
And
they caught up.
Yeah. It took them a minute, but
it did.
It took them, let's be fair, 21 films with little incremental things along the way.
Mm-hmm.
So the twist of the Skrulls was by far one of my favorite things in this film. The other being Annette Bening being Marvel, who is the original Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
And
I did not see that coming.
No. I thought it was going to be, like, when I saw her in the Supreme Intelligence, that it appears as whoever you think is going to be, who you think about. I thought it was going to be her mom, her commanding officer in the military.
Right.
Or the cat. But, I didn't know who it was going to be. And I was like, oh, it's there. Fucking rock on.
Yeah. That was wild.
So that was really cool. I'm trying to think of sort of other... What was your sort of, unless we've already said it, what was your like absolute favorite like drop dead moment of the film itself?
Oh my God. I don't know. I will say this. This is what I will say about this film. Something that I really, really loved. Yes, this is Marvel's first, female-led film in the MCU.
Yes.
But they did such a good job. I mean, I don't even know how to like get into this, but as a woman watching the film, blah 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 blah. But
I don't think honestly it's not blah blah blah. It's what it is.
It was incredible just to see like the friendship and the relationship she has with all these different people, kind of like what you were talking about before, especially. I mean, it was. Wait, Maria? Is it Maria and Monica?
Yeah, it's Maria.
Maria is the right, because Monica. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and it was weird because her name was Maria Rambeau, and I could only think of Rambo when the name was like Sly Stallone Rambo, and I was like, no, I got to get around this. I'm like, her first name is Maria.
I know. Well, and because the necklace she's wearing is Monica, but that's her daughter. Yeah. So, the relationship between Carol and Maria was incredible. And just something that like has been missing from the MCU forever, and it was just so refreshing.
Yeah,
I hate even saying all this, but it's true.
No, but it's
also super homoerotic. Like, oh my God, like they were clearly raising a child together. I mean, I'm not going to get into it, but like Jesus Christ.
Hey, if the Infinity Gauntlet fits, yeah, no, it's it was. There was a lot of... This movie could have very easily crumbled under the pressures that both ends of society, both constructive and destructive, were putting on it. But it 100% did not. And I feel like in a lot of different ways, Carol and Maria's relationship, the refugee sort of subplot, even in the way the sort of like humor is portrayed, it just went above and beyond. Even the way, even the way by the end of the film that Carol treated Jan-Rog, Jude Law. Mm-hmm. There was a whole thing about like, because in the beginning of this film, I will say this is a negative that turned my frown super upside down and made me like it even more. The first like 20 minutes of this film is a bit cookie cutter space Buck Rogers, like, you need to be better. You need to know yourself. You can't rely on your power. Yeah. It was a very sort of like 1950s hard sci-fi golden age bullshit mentality. And I was like, oh God, is this what this is going to be? And it 100% did that on purpose to give me that feeling, to then give me the catharsis of it not being that once it goes. But when at the end, when they have their moment, when it's doing come down to just two people going to get in a fist fight in the desert. Was
honestly, you know what? You asked me my drop dead moment. That's my drop dead favorite moment of the film. Because I was like, oh God. Like, I was like groaning. I was like, oh, Jude Law's back to do more Jude Lawing. Yep. And again, I love Jude Law, honestly, as an actor. I really like Jude Law. And I was so worried, though, the way the movie starts and everything up until the twist of, like, he's actually shitty.
Yeah.
Of, like, I was like, please don't make this like a romantic thing. Please don't do that. Like a lesser film would have.
Yes, 100%.
And they didn't. And then they have this like big showdown at the end, mirroring the opening training scene. And it's like, oh my God, he wants to fight hand to hand. I was like, this is so stupid. I cannot believe he's saying these words. And then she just shoots him with her blaster hand. And I was like, I screamed. I was so happy. Oh,
it was such a wonderful moment.
Jones moment.
Like and sort of even after that amazing sort of like stand up feel good they didn't go there and they did something smarter moment. Yeah. She walks up to him and is literally like, I don't have to prove shit to you, and like puts out her hand, helps him up. And like doesn't like kill him for all the shit he's done or whatever. She throws him in his ship and be like,
she drags him around.
Yeah, she drags him, and then she throws him in the ship. She's like, "You're gonna tell all of them that I'm gonna end this war. Bye." And she like literally blasts the ship, and it just flies away. And I was like, "All right."
I was like, probably there's a better way to deliver that message, because I don't know that I trust him to actually tell them. But
yeah, sure.
Loved it. Loved all of it. Everything about it was wonderful. That made me very happy. That final showdown was great.
Yeah, and something about Jude Law's character, Jan-Rog, which I also appreciated too. There was the whole Ronan subplot, played by Lee Pace, who was the villain in Guardians of the Galaxy 1.
Yes.
A lot of really fun sort of tie-ins with various things. Also, I can never pronounce his name. I feel Digimon Hansu, who plays Korath, who's played Korath in this and the first Guardians. They have like, he's one of Ronan's goons eventually, but he's working for Jude Law in this one, and you can kind of see where that sort of happened. Also, I like that there's like still the accusers are like the Kree's sort of like, for lack of a better term, like extermination squad. And even in Guardians, which takes place 20 or something years later, they like don't the Kree government doesn't associate themselves with the accusers because they're like rogue, like ancient faith, sort of like they believe everything needs to be cleansed. So there's a moment when Jude Law's traveling to Earth to go get Carol Danvers, and Ronan calls and he's like, "Where are you? I gotta go do my job." He's like, no, we got it. Like at that point, it was very like, there were two different, both bad ideologies, but they were different, and it didn't make like whoever was the bad guy at the particular moment feel cookie cutter or feel stagnant.
Great.
Yeah, so I liked that too. And
I like that a lot.
And then I guess the last thing we really haven't touched on, unless you think of anything else, is actually Brie Larson herself.
Oh my God, I could talk about this forever. I'm such a huge fan of hers since forever, but man, she fucking killed it. I'm sorry I'm cursing so much.
No, you've heard the show. You know the drill. Yeah.
She was so good. She was better than, she exceeded all expectations and just killed it.
She was 100% Captain Marvel all day, every day. I've loved her for so long.
Long.
I've always liked her when I saw her in things, but the first time where I didn't recognize her and I was like, I need to find out who the fuck this woman is, was in Scott Pilgrim. When she plays,
oh my God, I love that movie.
Envy Adams.
Envy Adams. And she covers that Metric song, and it's awesome.
It's so fucking good.
Scott Pilgrim, I'm not going to get into this too much because this is obviously a podcast about Captain Marvel.
No,
First of all, Scott Pilgrim is one of my all-time absolute favorite films.
Same.
Second of all, they could make spin-off movies with every single character that's only in it for 2 scenes, like Envy Adams or what's his face that Chris Evans plays. Oh my God, he's so funny.
Yeah.
Such a good movie.
I would love to see A Wallace movie, his roommate. I would love to see.
I love Wallace.
I would love to see. I'd see a Knives Chow movie. I'd see. Oh, who was the The only one I honestly probably wouldn't watch is Young Neil, because he's very one note in that film, but he was fun.
Yeah, he was sweet.
No, so that was the first time I saw Brie Larson, and it was like, whoa. And then, of course, Room came out, not to be confused with The Room.
Very different.
Very different films, and that blew my mind. And everything she's been in, even, you know what's funny? There was, oh God, what's that terrible film that came out maybe 3 years ago? It was a smaller film. Scorsese produced it. It was about arms dealers in a warehouse, and it took place, I can't remember the name of it, and it's fine because no one should watch it, because the only good part of that movie was Brie Larson. It was, Zoe, now you want to give me a Tesseract? Oh, okay, maybe later. So anything she is in 100% shines. And there was, I never really had a doubt that she'd pull it off. I'm glad that both, the script and the directors and everybody involved sort of let her bring her best performance forward. I was a little bit concerned that, like, what if they don't let
her be her?
Yeah. And they 100%
do the thing that she does.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, you could totally go in another direction with this, where it's like so over the top and so like bombastic, but there was so much nuance. I mean, there's so much like very subtle comedy in this film from her. I mean, Ben Mendelsohn has a couple moments. Like, everyone gets these like really subtle, almost like quiet moments of either like really deep emotion or like really funny deadpan comedy that a movie like this does not need to have.
Yeah.
But it's so much better for it. Yeah. And is so delightful and just like real and fun to see. She was great. She just destroyed it. She was awesome.
I very much agree. I guess my final thought, and I'll let you sort of have the last word here on Captain Marvel, but I'll just sort of say my thing. Again, I got to go back to not only all of the heaps of praises I have completely outweigh any of the one or two incredibly minor music editing gripes that I have. The thing I do want to go back to, though, is my original sort of thing about how this felt fresh in the MCU, when it's not fresh, when an MCU movie isn't like feeling like particularly new, like Doctor Strange, a lot of it, for instance, for me, I still like them. This movie felt so just different enough. It fits with the rest, but it doesn't also like have to lean on everything that like exactly came before. Yeah. And I think that does come down to a little bit what I said before about it's not a typical origin story. Like, this isn't a tale of like a flawed person coming to terms with their adversaries or the things that are welling up inside them, their negative attributes, finding their power and like becoming a better person. This is a tale of someone who's already determined and powerful that's coming to terms with the flawed world that they live in, that they can now see. And that
absolutely,
and that's something I haven't seen in an MCU movie. The closest might be Black Panther, but that's almost only at the very end when Killmonger and him are sort of having the conversation at the end, where he like almost sees the reasons that Wakanda was wrong in certain situations. Right. But never on this sort of personal on a one character thing has the MCU done this. So I just really appreciated that, and I am so fucking pumped that it was as good as it was.
Me too. Before I get into my final thoughts, yes. I want to just give a comic book nerd shout out to Kelly Sue DeConnick, who has a cameo in the film. I spotted her, and I cheered.
What was her cameo?
Did. She is she's just like walking in a crowd, but like she is very much like, she has like bright red hair and like a very like strong, like she has a look.
Yeah.
And it was just very cool to be like, there she is. Like, she was just like very like close to the center of the frame, like, but like in a crowd shot.
Nice.
I don't remember what was happening. It was when she's back on Earth. And then just like she like is like the reason this film and this story are as good as it is. You know, she like recreated this character with her run of comic books, and just like so much of the story is based on what she's done, which is just awesome. And then the other shout out, Jamie McKelvey, who designed the spacesuit that is featured in the film. He designed it for Kelly Sue's run of Captain Marvel books.
Yep.
And the moment where they're changing the color of the suit and she lands on the red, blue, and gold. Oh my God, the theater cheered.
It was so cool. Good.
And hers, honestly, like by far one of my favorite superhero suits in a film.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is a great costume.
Yeah. I was very curious. I was very curious about how they were going to do that. Like, and then I just liked that it could just be done. Also, I've been playing a lot of a video game called Warframe lately, and Warframe basically it's kind of like cyber ninjas in space. So they're all sort of wearing like you play these sort of like golems you inhabit that are all sort of cool and different looking. But one of the coolest things about it is sort of the end level content of this game. They start calling it fashion frame because you can buy color palettes and accessories and these things, and you can literally go down sliders like they literally did in Captain Marvel and change palettes based on like you can either do whatever you want or take artistic suggestion from the game. So like I was getting a real fucking kick-ass Warframe vibe when her and the daughter were just sort of scrolling through, and the neon one happened. I'm like, stick with the neon one. Stick with the neon one.
The neon one. I know they were both like no, and I was like. Yeah, no. I was like, it looks like Tron. It's so cool.
Yeah.
It totally made me think a little bit of like in Mortal Kombat, how like all the ninjas and all the robots are the exact same suits, but in slightly different palettes.
Yes, yeah, palette swapping, 100%. Yep.
When they're like boop boop boop, like with the sliders, I was like, this is just how they designed like the Mortal Kombat characters.
Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Reptile, Ermac, Rain, and Smoke.
And then the robots also.
Noob
like,
Saibot was another one of them.
And
Sector Cyrax, also Smoke was a cyber ninja. Also Sub-Zero was a cyber ninja at one point.
It's true.
Mortal Kombat 11 comes out soon, Carly.
April 23rd. I know exactly when it's coming out.
Yes!
It's after my birthday, and that's what I'll be spending my birthday doing.
Do you have a PS4?
No, I have a Switch.
Can you get it on the Switch?
Yes, you can.
Really? Maybe I'll get it on the Switch. Maybe so we can play on that too. I literally watched the announcement trailer, like when they had like a live
So
event.
did I.
Yeah.
I watched the live stream of it, and I was like, why am I watching this? I was like, I haven't played Mortal Kombat since I was in high school. But it was, we were really off on a tangent.
That's okay.
Mortal Kombat was Mario Brothers and Mortal Kombat were like the things that occupied so much of my time when I was in middle school. So I am thrilled that it's coming back. I cannot wait.
Yeah. But sorry, we keep getting tangented off of your final
thoughts on the film. I think that it lived. Look, I think the amount of hype that was surrounding it and what it had to live up to was wildly unfair.
Yeah.
I think it still managed to be a fantastic film despite it. I think that the cast is incredible. The script's really, really, really solid. And it is definitely one of the most fun MCU films I've ever seen. And I loved it.
Yeah.
That's my final thoughts. It was great.
I agree. This has been the only podcast about Captain Marvel. Carly, thank you so much for coming and co-hosting this episode with me.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so good to get to talk to you, and I'm sad I missed you here, but please tell him I said hello.
I will. Actually, I won't. I'll say you didn't like him at all, and
Tell
this was
him I
way
hate
better
him,
without him. No, of course I will. No, this has been an absolute pleasure. We actually do need to catch up more because, bi-coastal friends are difficult sometimes, but I'm going to make efforts. Where can folks find you when you are not kicking all of the different kinds of ass you currently are?
Well, I am on all of the social medias as Carlytron, and so you find me on there. And CarlyUsdin.com is my website. All my work's on there. I definitely post whenever new books are coming out, or I have a short film I just finished that's going to be at a couple festivals. So I kind of update all of those places with all of that information. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the comic books are Heavy Vinyl, which the trade paperback is available now.
Oh, nice. I just have the originals. And you were nice. That's right. Big shout out to you too. I could only find issues 1, 2, and 4, everybody. And Carly, when she heard about it literally just sent me the third one, and I was so delighted. I have them right here. They're on my desk.
There they are.
So thank you for that. Everyone should check that out.
Avant-Garde's first 2 issues are in stores. It's coming out monthly all year, so I should probably finish writing them.
Yeah.
And yeah, the short film I made is called Misdirection. and it is going to be in a bunch of festivals. MrActionFilm.com. If you want to see where that's gonna be playing in a city near you.
Nice.
Hopefully soon.
Awesome.
That's all I got.
Good deal. You can always find me at my usual haunts. You can find me at MatthewKroll.com, MatthewKroll for my life and works. Also, Skeletor, the number 4, PREZ on Instagram, or Emperor MSK on Twitter. Also, you can check out some of the stuff me and the Extra Credits crew are currently doing on the YouTube box. What are we releasing this week? I think next week we're doing for Extra Mythology, we have Bronze Age Myth. We do Gilgamesh and Enkidu, BFFs. They bro out hard back in ye old tablet times. Also, we are finishing up the Irish potato famine on Extra History, and we have a couple amazing tales of what's the word I'm looking for? Good deeds in the video game industry on Extra Credits, which you don't normally hear about. So
sounds nice.
Check out all that stuff. And I guess until next time, Carly, you got to come back. We got to start chatting about what's your next this year, other than Endgame, of course. What's another movie you're pumped about?
Ooh, man, I'm like blanking, of course, just blanking on everything. I'm really excited for Us, but that's out in like a few days, I feel like.
That's fine. I was just curious because obviously there are, even though sometimes I forget, there's films, as Shahir tells me, outside of the Marvel Cinematic Universe that
apparently there are.
Yeah.
I definitely am excited for a whole bunch of movies, and I'm like, what movies are coming out? I can't fucking remember anything.
You know what's weird? I actually just got excited because I saw the trailer for it, which should honestly just be a Final Fantasy game, for Frozen 2. The trailer for Frozen 2 looks like a goddamn Square Enix game.
I hated Frozen.
Oh no! Well, we had to disagree about something.
I could not stand
I did see it before everyone made it like the mantra of children everywhere. Like I saw it I think opening weekend. I was like, this is a cool story. Neat. Yeah. And then I just ignored it. And then it became a wave of life. And I can totally see why people dislike it. But I saw it the one time and I loved it. And I'm looking forward to the sequel. I'm going to see it quick and then not talk about it.
And then never hear, and then mute it on the internet forever. I heard early reviews of Shazam are saying it's actually pretty great.
Yes, I think that'll be another
which is cool.
a fun. That'll be finally the DCEU or whatever they're calling whatever that thing is with 9 Joker movies is going to get its foot out of its Schneider ass and see if it can actually make something enjoyable. Other than Wonder Woman,
right?
Wonder Woman was actually dope. I heard actually that Aquaman was okay.
I still haven't seen it, but I heard it was just kind of like wacky and fun and ridiculous, which I love in a movie.
Yeah.
And then, I have one more.
What's
and
it?
Then, why was my brain not working?
What you got? Come on, you can do it.
Sorry. I'm the worst.
I believe in you.
The new Men in Black. The new Men in Black. I'm super amped for the new Men in Black.
Yes, 100%.
Love the Men in Black movies, and just love Tessa Thompson so much. Love Chris Hemsworth.
Getting the Ragnarok crew back together.
I know. I think that's great. So I'm super jazzed for that one. That one is a big one for me this year.
Agreed. All right. Well, Carly, thank you so much once again. Thank you, everybody who was listening to our lovely discussion. And go, you've seen Captain Marvel at this point, but might as well just go off and see it again. I'm going to. I'm going to see it again in the theater.
Yes.
I'm going to see it in the bigger, louder versions in like RTX and a couple other things. So we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah.
Anyway, bye, everybody.
Bye.